BBC News with Sue Montgomery. The World Health Organization says it has restored contact with staff at the Al-Shifa hospital in northern Gaza, where thousands of people are reportedly trapped. The Director General of the WHO, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said on social media the situation remained dire. A surgeon at Al-Shifa, Dr. Marwan Abu Sada, described conditions at the hospital.
Tonight, Shifa, we cannot say it is a calm. It is in a total darkness, really. Without electricity, without fuel, without water, even without food, and still having more than 600 injured people. And we are suffering now with our babies. We are talking about 36. We are besieged. We are under pressure from above, from the sky, by airstrikes. We are like hostages. All of us are like in a big prison, and they're really controlling the movement.
Hamas is reportedly suspending negotiations on the release of the hostages it's holding because of Israel's actions around Al-Shifa hospital. Israel's Prime Minister said fuel taken to the hospital had not been collected. Hamas denies this. 2 other hospitals in northern Gaza have been evacuated, with patients left on the street. Paul Adams reports on international reaction.
The worsening situation is causing alarm among Israel's allies. In Washington, Joe Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, said America did not want to see firefights in front of hospitals, with innocent people caught in the crossfire. The US administration, he said, was having active consultations with the Israeli military. And the European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, urged Israel to show maximum restraint. The EU, he said, was gravely concerned about the deepening humanitarian crisis.
The French Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne and 2 former presidents have joined more than 100,000 people in a Paris march against anti-Semitism, following an increase in attacks in the Jewish community. Ms Borne said she stood with the Jewish community.
It was of course important for me to be here with my government, to protect those citizens who, on account of their background and their religion, are worried. And the government, with all the ministers, we want to tell our fellow citizens of the Jewish religion that we are at their side, we are mobilized, and we will not let anything happen.
The far-right's Marine Le Pen also attended as her party seeks to distance itself from its roots in anti-Semitism. Germany is doubling the military aid it will give to Ukraine next year to $8.5 billion. The defence minister told German television it would help Ukraine keep pressure on occupying Russian forces, while signalling that Germany was not giving up on Ukraine. World News from the BBC. Tens of thousands across Spain have demonstrated against a deal between the governing socialists and pro-independence Catalan parties, which aims to grant separatist leaders amnesties. In return, the Catalan parties will back Pedro Sánchez to continue as Prime Minister for another term. Protesters held placards denouncing Mr Sánchez as a traitor and accused him of undermining Spain's unity. South Africa's Home Affairs Minister has proposed a complete overhaul of the country's immigration system, saying it can no longer afford the cost of unfettered migration. Aaron Motsoaledi said his department had no idea how many illegal immigrants were in the country, but up to 20,000 were being deported every year at huge cost. The 2 candidates in Argentina's presidential election meet shortly in their final televised debate ahead of next Sunday's runoff vote. Javier Milei is leading most opinion polls. He wants to tackle Argentina's high inflation rate by replacing the local currency with the US dollar. Politicians in the Czech Republic and in Europe have been paying tribute to the former Foreign Minister Karel Schwarzenberg, who's died at the age of 85. He was a champion of European integration. Here's Rob Cameron.
Karel Schwarzenberg lived a long and eventful life. He witnessed as a child the Nazi occupation of Czechoslovakia, but it was when the Communists took power in 1948 that his aristocratic family fled to Vienna. He returned after 1990 and served as Chancellor to the late former President Václav Havel, and throughout his subsequent political career, serving as a senator, foreign minister and standing unsuccessfully for president, was a strong advocate of liberal European values. The former Swedish Prime Minister Carl Bildt described him as the wisest European he had ever known.
BBC News.